Welcome back to another episode of Two Average Husbands. I'm your host, Jake.
I'm your host, Kyle. Jake, what are you not drinking this week?
So I've been dealing with a little bit of food poisoning, basically since I woke up. So I am drinking Bare Performance Nutrition's electrolyte powder because I need to rehydrate after what's been going on with my body today.
Jake has food poisoning maybe 3 to 5 times more than the average human. So
Okay, I was talking to Jess about this. I got food poisoning one time from eating sushi when I was like 12. And then I didn't get food poisoning again until I was 27, and then I got it like 3 times within a year.
It's a lot more than most people, I think.
I don't think so. Based off of the people I see on social media, they have food poisoning at least once a week, it seems.
I don't think that's a real thing.
Then other people just have really questionable assholes.
I'm going to start off with Equilibrium Brewing's Astronomical Twilight Sour IPA. I'm the least excited about this one, so I'm just going to start off because I think the other one's going to be better, and hopefully they don't both do the opposite of what I expect, and blah 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 blah. I'd like to not have 2 bad beers today. Is my point.
That'd be clutch.
This one is made with watermelon, strawberry, lime, and select hops, so it sounds good. But when you call yourself a sour IPA,
that's been a thing recently.
I don't know if I like it, so we'll see.
It's a fair thing to question,
Jesus
but
Christ.
I'm gonna get us start. Jesus, is Kyle good? Is he surviving?
Oh, I heard that one coming. I didn't think it was gonna full burst because it was sitting there bubbling.
That shit exploded on you.
It's okay. It didn't make a mess as bad as many of the other explosions I've been on this podcast.
That's very, very true.
I've had some pretty gnarly beer explosions.
Well,
mild.
I was gonna say I'm glad it wasn't a bad one for you. But I'm gonna get us started with our fun fact, and I've probably already said this fun fact at various points on the show, which is fine. But I think it's a very fun fact, and I know it's gonna make Kyle mad when I say it. Kyle, did you know that in botanical science, vegetables do not exist?
Oh, yeah. I think I've heard you say this before.
In the botanical world of science, there is actually no vegetable. Every vegetable that you eat is a seed, a leaf, a bulb, etc. There's actually no such thing as vegetables in the world. We just call them vegetables for I don't even know what reason. But I want everybody in the world to know that vegetables do not exist. So if somebody gets on you about eating your veggies, say they don't exist. And you're technically right. So I just want to point that out.
Stupid.
True, though. Anyways, we're going to hop right into our first topic. And
Jesus Christ, this beer sucks. I poured just a little bit in the can and it like blew up in the glass. Like it overflowed somehow.
Well, maybe don't shake your beers so much.
I don't shake beer.
I think you do.
Equilibrium, you're pissing me off, okay? We're starting off on a bad foot.
You have not found the equilibrium for carbonation to liquid yet, so figure that out. See what I did there?
Oh my God. The mess is increasing. I might have lied about the explosion.
Well.
All right, sorry. Go ahead. Do your topic.
All right, I'm going to go semi-serious with my first topic of the evening.
Yeah, do it.
If you could remove one emotion from the world, what would it be and why?
Okay. I feel like the initial response would be sadness, right? Like that makes the most sense. But I think that my answer is not that. And it's actually anxiety if you consider that an emotion.
I do.
I consider it kind of like a mental state, I guess. Maybe that's not an emotion. Maybe it is. There's probably some mental health scientists out there that could tell me what it actually is. But I'm going to tell you that I think anxiety is the one. I don't have necessarily any real issues with anxiety myself, but I know that it like plagues people. Not to say that sadness and depression do not. But I think anxiety is kind of like a more low-key thing that people suffer from. And I guess that's not necessarily as true anymore. Like people are becoming more comfortable talking about all sorts of different mental health problems and stuff like that. But like, I know people, for example, that are so anxious that they like can't leave the house, right? Like it is like truly inhibiting their life in that way too. So I think maybe that would be the one that I would go with. I don't know. Maybe I'd have to see a comparison to see like how many people suffer from like just, I would call depression a form of sadness. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. Oh, geez, Bubs, nice sneeze. Comparison of who suffers more.
Yeah, so 30% of adults experience anxiety, specifically an anxiety disorder, at some point in their lives. So it's very prevalent. 1 in every 3 people. And as somebody who suffers from anxiety myself, I can tell you that that was almost my answer, and I'll get to my answer in a minute. But I think anxiety is a really good answer because you can, like, people don't realize how crippling anxiety can be if you don't control it.
Yeah.
And so for me, like you were talking about, like people who didn't want to leave the house, like that was me for a really long time. Like I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to do anything. And it wasn't like a depressed state, because I've had really depressed states too. But it's like, especially like for me, one of my big things is health anxiety. So I get really anxious about like things that are going on in my body. I get anxious about things that are going on in the world. So like when COVID happened, you know, I was trying to put on a strong face for it at first. And then like when I realized how really real it was, I was like, I was terrified. And as somebody who is also technically immunocompromised, I have an autoimmune disorder. It was really scary for me. And so for a long time, like I didn't want to leave the house. If I did, I was like double masked up. I was wearing gloves. Like I was super freaked out about it. And even, but it's also been other parts of my life. Like I actually get social anxiety where I don't want to be in groups of people that I don't know. Like if there's people there that I know, I'm normally fine. But when it was like, when I was meeting like somebody's friend's friend for the first time, like it's a super awkward thing for me. I don't do well in that situation, or like really large crowds. So like at concerts, like being in the pit is like one of the worst things in the world for me. Like I want to be in the back enjoying the music. Like I don't need to be shoulder to shoulder with you. And my answer was almost anxiety. But I went a little bit of a different route with it. But anxiety is an emotion that I feel like you can remove from people, and their life can still have all of the meaning that it needs to have. So my initial reaction was sadness, but it's like the moments that you're sad really make the moments that you're happy feel better. Or like when you get out of a sadness, like when you overcome your sadness, you feel like you conquered something. And that to me is like too strong of a feeling to want to take from people. And you kind of get that feeling with anxiety, but it's not true. It's like, you don't realize how anxious you are all the time. Like for me, it was like, if I slightly messed up something at work, like my brain was instantly, I'm going to get fired. And it would be that way for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, sure.
And then with anxiety, like the things that I didn't think about until well after they happened. So like 2 years later, I'm like remembering shit that happened at work 2 years ago. And I'm like, oh fuck, really got lucky on that one. Like little shit like that. But yeah, dude, anxiety sucks. That's a good answer.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. To be honest with you, man, I really don't have so many like experiences to draw personal experience from. I think that was a little bit redundant too. So I don't want to say that like I don't experience any sort of mental health issue, but I really don't. Like, you know, I have like moments on like probably you know, on either side of the scale, if you want to call it that, where I'm not doing mentally great, but I wouldn't say that it's like stemming from some sort of a mental health illness, right? And so but I have it around me a lot. And so I think that the one that I see the most perhaps affecting people around me is anxiety. So that's kind of where I would go with that, just because of proximity to what I see. But I agree with you. And I think there's probably a bottom line to this somewhere that's like, if you remove any emotion, it's unhealthy for you.
Right.
Like that, the answer is probably, you know, don't remove any of them. Maybe less intensify some of the worst ones like anxiety or something like that. But like, if you don't feel anxious standing on the side of a cliff, that's probably not a good thing, you know, or, you know, like some of those things are inherent to your nature so that you don't like put yourself at undue risk. Or, you know, it's healthy to grieve, right? So like you want to feel some of that sadness to try to help you, you know, deal with some of the pain of losing somebody, or, you know, and so you don't want to like completely get rid of that. Then you're just completely neutral all the time to the things that are happening around you that should make you feel some sort of sadness or some sort of negative emotion. Right. So, I don't know. The answer is probably you don't get rid of anything, but I think if we're just talking like there's no consequence to it, remove one emotion, anxiety is probably what I go with.
That's a good answer. I almost went with depression. Just because having dealt with bouts of depression myself, like I separate that from sadness because it's a very different feeling. Like when you're depressed, it literally like your life shuts down. Like you don't want to do anything. You don't want to take care of yourself. You don't want to take care of anybody else. You want like nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
And it's a really shitty place to be. But for the same reason I said with sadness, like when you overcome depression, it can be a really powerful experience for people. So the one that I went with, and yes, I Googled a list of emotions to make sure that this was actually classified as an emotion, but boredom.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of things that go wrong for people simply because they're bored. And if you if you remove boredom, more than likely you're enjoying almost everything that you're doing. And I think you're in the moment of your life a lot more, and you're actually experiencing things a lot more. And for me, like when I get bored, like I want to do dumb shit to get myself unbored. Like, and that's normally when I do something stupid or get hurt, or I'm like,
Yeah, I don't totally disagree with you, but like I think when I'm thinking about this a little bit more, if you get rid of boredom, right? Like if I don't feel the experience of being bored, maybe I just don't do anything.
but you still feel enjoyment.
Yeah, but sometimes like I sit back or I'm like just sitting at home, right? And I end up scrolling my phone for 3 hours because I'm bored, right? Like, and that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but sometimes it's not. And so like if I just wasn't feeling bored, I might just sit there, like I'm not experiencing that boredom. And I get what you're saying. Like, you, because of boredom, you seek some sort of excitement, right? Like, or some sort of interesting thing. But if I don't have anything driving me towards that, maybe it would pull back on some of my desires to go do things or read things or see things or have interest in things. And because like you said, a lot of the like people do stupid things because they're bored, but people also get out and do things because they are bored that aren't necessarily stupid. Like, hey, I know I don't have plans this weekend. I'm going to be bored. I'm going to try to make plans this weekend, right? Like I'm going to try to get myself out of the house. I'm going to try to go see people. I'm going to try to do things to resolve the problem that is boredness. And so if you don't experience that, maybe you do, maybe you just don't do anything,
Maybe, but even then you're not bored with doing nothing.
Yeah.
And so my brain actually went like into a much more serious place with this in reality. Like I've heard a lot of stories, like especially for myself, like people who struggle with like binge eating or anything like that. Like a lot of people like myself, like I eat when I'm bored just because it's something.
Yeah.
I'm feeling something.
I do that a lot.
There's a lot of people out there
thing.
who have turned to certain drugs just because they were bored and they wanted to feel something. Like,
sure. Yeah, no, I totally get the positive side of what you're saying. I'm just trying to think of like the fallout from it, which might be less enjoyment in general or less. What does his hat say? Salad. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
He's a fake Dallas fan, Tony. So
this has nothing to do with being a Dallas fan. I just like the hat. It's a cool looking hat.
Fake news.
Fake news. Kyle's drug is Cool Ranch Doritos, which I believe was also his dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Carly said she wishes she could dial back empathy.
She does have a high ability to experience empathy for other people. And it is, I understand why she would want to dial that back. Because like when you're, at least in her case, when you have this like hyper sensitivity to like that emotion, you end up wanting to be a caretaker, right? Or like take other people's problems and deal with them yourself a little bit more. And that's not always good. It can be, obviously, like any emotion's probably good on a scale, right? Like everything in moderation, as the saying goes. But when you have too much, you end up taking on too many burdens of other people. So I mean, anything that you're, if you could experience all emotions like right in the middle of the scale, like you'd probably be like the happiest person on earth.
Yeah.
Except for your happiness would also be in the middle of the scale. So maybe the most content person maybe on earth.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it is, emotions are on a scale, much like most things are in the world. And I think removing any of them is going to have negative outcomes. But I think, some are definitely better to have than others removed.
Yeah. What else you got?
Right. We could also just
out of time, so.
Yeah, so there's other ones that I considered, and I'm just gonna read them off here. Annoyance, I thought about that one, but
That'd
I like
a good one, yeah.
Jealousy,
yeah,
feeling vengeful, wanting vengeance.
Yeah,
I think that would not be a bad one to get rid of.
Sure.
Distraction, I think if you're not distracted, that'd be pretty. You get a lot of shit done. especially for those of us with ADHD. We get distracted very easily.
That's kind of what I was tied that to. It's more of like I don't know, I have a hard time categorizing distraction as a emotion. It's just more of like a mental state, which could be the same definition as emotion. I don't know.
And then
I'm not versed in this stuff. I need some mental health people in the audience.
And then the one that I thought would be the funniest if we got rid of it would be embarrassment. Just like you do anything, you're never embarrassed.
Yeah, that's dangerous. Some people are like that, dude.
They are.
Some people just like do not feel embarrassment, and then they do wild shit.
And then us empaths feel embarrassed for them.
Yeah, I'm not an empath. Carly took all of my empathy and uses it for herself. I have a hard time with empathy. Yeah, I definitely feel embarrassed too. So
yeah,
I've gotten better. I think all of these things can be worked on too, and that's probably a way. I know it's a way oversimplification, right? But like if you feel embarrassment about things, and you put yourself in situations where you just try to deal with the issue that is like you being embarrassed in like more productive ways, then you can work on skills to help you deal with those types of things, right? Like I feel like I don't get nearly as embarrassed as I used to. Like I would say something dumb and now it's the same concept. Like the example that I can think of is like, when you're younger, you get embarrassed if you ask a stupid question in class or whatever,
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty common problem that people have. And now I'm like at the point in my life where I'm at now, I just don't even give a fuck, right? Like, I'm going to ask if I don't understand because I need to understand. Right. And if somebody thinks it's a dumb question, then good for you, man. Get a laugh out of me. I don't really give a shit, but there are things that I need to understand. Yeah. And I'm going to make sure that I do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Topic number 1, done. Get us going with topic number 2 here, Kyle.
I could probably comfortably rate this beer at this point as well. I hate that I like it because it pissed me off so much, but it's pretty good. Honestly, it's a decent sour. It's not super hoppy, so I think calling it a sour IPA is a misnomer and kind of stupid. So I'll give them a knock for that. Give them a knock for their exploding can, and I'll land it. Hold on.
3.25.
You got it.
I know Kyle so
I'm a very middle of the road rater. It takes a lot to pull me one way or the other. It has to be really, really bad or really, really good. And this one is this one might merit a little bit higher than that. You probably would drink it and give it a higher rating, I would guess.
Maybe
that's few true sour, a lot of the ratings that we do.
The few sour IPAs I've had were very middle of the road for me because it means you're not doing either beer well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you're kind of just like
this one's above average.
There we go.
That matters. I give it a whole 0.25 over average. If is 3 average out of 5, yeah, it would be, right?
No, it'd be 2.5.
Yeah, I guess if you say purely middle of the road. Okay. Yeah, it's
anyways. We'll take above
really
average.
Quickly. I don't know, total tangent here and not related to my topic at all. But somebody, this was months ago now. Whenever Carly first got her car, several months now, I think. We had a friend come to town, a guy that I used to work with, and we went and just had a drink and some snack or some appetizers or whatever with them. And he introduced me to his girlfriend and her sister or whatever it was. And he said that I do a beer podcast. He's like, oh yeah, Kyle does a beer podcast. And I was like, that's not what we do. I don't know why I just thought of this, but I was like, that is the worst way to describe what we do here.
Yeah.
We happen to drink in order to we stimulate conversation and just enjoy beer, right? But we do not do a beer podcast. That's not what this is.
We drink beer while podcasting.
Dude, if this was a beer podcast, our podcast would be over right now.
Yeah.
It would be less than 20 minutes every time. We could probably pound a couple beers, give a couple reviews, and call it good and peace out. So
yeah, it'd be a tough.
I'm not going to say I was offended by him saying that, but I did say that's not what we do. I was like, we talk about stuff.
We do drink beer and we rate beer,
but we talk about stuff. That's why we're here. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. All right, so I wanted to talk about this last week. It was maybe a little bit more in the news and popular last week to talk about, but I didn't forget that I wanted to talk about it. So I want to talk about Threads as a social media, which is hilarious because I don't have social media. But I do want to talk about, Jake can talk about it maybe from an interface standpoint because I'm assuming you're on Threads.
I am.
I would imagine you are. So maybe Jake can talk about it, usability, and give a review on that because honestly, I don't know anything about it. Carly started it maybe day one, and I don't know if she's gone back to it since then. But really, I want to talk about the competition of it and the claims of copyright infringement that are coming from Elon and the Twitter team, which I think are kind of funny. So we could do this however you want. You can contribute to the conversation and I can just start. But Threads, if you didn't know, is the newest popular social media. I'm sure there are other ones getting created all the time, but the newest mainstream social media site is Threads, and it's not even its own independent site. It is an extension of Instagram, because really Meta is trying to source all things from, at least it seems Meta is trying to branch everything out from the context of Instagram in different methodologies, right? So you have like your TikTok imitation that is coming through Instagram Reels.
Yep, Reels.
Right. So you have Instagram Reels. Now you have Instagram Threads, even though it's not called Instagram Threads, it's just Threads. But like you have extensions of the base platform, which is Instagram, that they are building from.
Right.
So anyway, that was a long way to say that it's not a different social site per se, that it is just an extension of Instagram. So rolls out immediately. I think it is the most popular within the first day social media of all time. And somebody can challenge me on that, but I remember seeing statistics rolling out on the day of Threads becoming a platform, and it was like within the first hour they had like hundreds of millions of fucking people signing up.
It was 30 million within 24 hours, and then 100 million within 5 days of launch.
Yeah, it's a little bit less ridiculous, but still crazy. Like the amount of people that hopped over to Threads, and so. It's the new cool thing on the block, so that's great. I think there's many different things to talk about here, but one of them is, and I guess I'll go first with the whole copyright infringement piece of this, because I think it's a little bit funny, right? So Elon Musk, basically because of a Twitter comment, I think in at the beginning, and somebody can also challenge me on that, I don't know, but I think Elon tweeted something a while back about how something sucked about Twitter, right? Like, I think that's how this all started. He gets into a Twitter argument and ends up buying the fucking social media platform, basically because he had an ego problem. And this is simplifying the problem, but Elon buys Twitter and goes in and fucking cans everyone, cleans house, right? Walks in on day one with a fucking toilet, or was it a sink? I don't know, something weird.
Yeah, something dumb.
Weird guy, right? And like the more I know of Elon, the less I like Elon. And that's probably not true of everybody, but I think he's just kind of a fucking odd duck. So he cans basically his entire development team. And so you saw all these crashes with Twitter happening, and like server problems, interface problems, people aren't able to log in. You've seen all this stupid fucking bullshit with verification, not verifications, paid subscriptions, everything that I hate. A lot of things
were broken for like a month.
There's so many problems with Twitter because of the mass firings that he did. And I don't know if I think he expected an oversimplified platform that was run by like, less specialized teams, but really it was so many little specialized teams that he just completely fired that were handling certain aspects of the app, that when he got rid of them, the thing stopped functioning. So anyway, fires a bunch of people, right? And laughs about it. Comments on Twitter, really just talking shit about these people, saying they're lazy. He gets in Twitter battles with people.
Fired some people on Twitter. Used Twitter to fire some people.
Some absolutely crazy scenarios with Elon and the way he dealt with taking over Twitter. Well, shockingly, but unshockingly, what is it? I don't know how many months it's been since Elon took over Twitter, but however many months, less than a year. Surprise, surprise, Instagram/Meta comes out and releases Threads. And so Elon immediately takes to Twitter.
Yep.
And says, copyright infringement. These people went and stole my intellectual property, and they took it over and developed Threads, which, okay, this is where the conversation probably starts after all that background that you probably already knew if you're listening to this. There is no, okay, so copyright law or intellectual property law is actually very difficult to navigate. I've done some recent stuff dealing with this actually for school, and it's a lot of gray areas, and there's actually still cases going to the Supreme Court to try to deal with this type of a case. So we'll see what actually happens with this one. But the long story short of it is they developed a different platform. It's not called Twitter. It doesn't do exactly the same thing as Twitter. It's not based in the same interface as Twitter. So he probably doesn't have a ton of ground to walk on unless he can prove that, very specific or chunks of code or whatever from Twitter were taken, copied, and put into the engine that is now driving Twitter, which he probably Threads, but he probably can't do that. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, what are your thoughts on that before I talk about anything else? Because that was a lot of me talking.
Yeah, I think it's typical Elon thinking he's smarter than he is, and it's not going to go anywhere because, I mean, what can you really argue that Threads stole from Twitter? You can post your thoughts on the internet. Okay, we've been doing that with forums. We've been doing that with Reddit. We've been doing that with Facebook. We've been doing that with Instagram, Vine, TikTok, whatever it may be. Like, people have been doing the same concept for years. Twitter was just the first platform that really like blew up in kind of its own niche way. And even then they've changed
it was niche, right, at the moment, because it was character limited.
Yeah.
You know, there's different things that made it unique. I guess to me, honestly, character limitation and was probably the biggest unique factor. Like, they wanted you to be concise with your thought.
Yeah, exactly. It was 140 characters when it started. You couldn't type anything longer. You couldn't do a thread. You couldn't do just about anything else. Like, for a while there, I don't even think you could post pictures or video to it.
I was going to say that, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't say it out loud. But I think you're right.
I'm pretty sure you couldn't at first, and then they made it 10-second videos. And then when they decided, once they bought Vine, they made Twitter's limit like 30 seconds because you could do 30-second vines or something like so they've they've expanded what they were from what they originally started as. But even if you get down to the base aspect of it, like, Threads, like you said, is not Twitter. It is a new social media platform that offers similar features. But if that's the case, you have to sue Blue Sky, which is Jack, the creator of Twitter, his new project that's coming out. You have to sue the one that all the Trumpies are on, Truth Social or whatever it's called. Like, there's 50. If you're gonna do that, you're gonna open a really bad bag of, like, a really gross can of worms, where you're gonna have to sue 58 companies that are doing the exact same thing in a different way, and you can't do that. Like, if that was the case, YouTube could have sued Vimeo. If that was the case, Twitch could have sued YouTube when you started to be able to live stream on YouTube instead of doing it on Twitch. Like, there's been so many instances of similar products coming out and nothing can ever come from it because, like you said, it's different base code. They do things in a different way. They have different servers. They operate in a different way. They don't steal terms.
Win that lawsuit.
Yeah. It'll never happen. They will never win that lawsuit. Like, I will make that claim on this podcast.
Yeah. Honestly, you're probably right. And I would agree with you. But one of the interesting things too is that, like, Elon himself, like, went on Twitter when he fired all those people, right, and was like, good luck getting gainful employment doing this somewhere else, right? Like, he was like insulting them, but also it was like a farewell insult to a lot of these developers that he fired, to basically be like, you're not going to do shit because you're not going to be a part of Twitter. And they went and found gainful employment making Twitter's competitor. And I think that's the second part of this conversation, and that is my belief in the fact that competition is good everywhere.
Yes.
You do not want to have anybody that is the sole provider of a service, because then you as the consumer will inevitably be at the, I wouldn't say the beck and call. That's the wrong phrase, but you are at the mercy of whatever that company is, because they can set prices, they can track data, they can do whatever they want, however they want, as long as they are the only one that offers it. So which, by the way, tracking data is a terrible comparison because Meta is maybe the worst criminal of that. But Meta can now offer different things through Twitter. Maybe they offer a verified option that's cheaper or free now. Or, like, they can do different things to make it competitive and try to suss out Elon and his intentions, which is hilarious, by the way, because he reported that they're at a $50 million negative cash flow or something ridiculous. I saw that the other day. Like, Twitter's not doing very good. So.
Yeah, no.
Meta came out with the threads at the right time. So I think competition's good. I think they don't have a suit for intellectual property. And then I'll give Jake the remainder of my time if he just wants to talk about Threads interface and how it is via or versus Twitter, and if there's any goods, bads, or otherwise you want to talk about.
Yeah, it's shitty original Twitter. Like, a lot of the search functionality isn't very good. If you have a following somewhere else, it's really hard to get that following to cultivate over to Threads. Like, I have over 2,100 followers on Twitter. I won't sniff that on Threads for years. Like, just because, one, it's so new that most of the people that I know that have it is simply we have it as a backup plan in case Twitter fails. Like if Twitter goes away, it's just where we're going to go, and it's where everybody's going to go. It's either going to be that or Blue Sky. Blue Sky, you have to sign up to even get into it right now. You can't just create an account, and it's really the only like semi-close alternative that we have. So I think for most of us, like Threads is never going to be somebody's main platform unless you have built all of your following off of Instagram. That is really going to be the only way that you are going to see success with it right away. And it's so new that you can't monetize it in any way. Like you can monetize Twitter. You can.
That's not true. Do you mean as an individual user you can't?
Yes.
That might be true.
Yes.
I was going to say because Threads is certainly making money off of what they're doing.
Oh yeah, 100%. They're making money, but like,
yeah,
I could get paid right now for an ad on Twitter, and I cannot get paid that on Threads just because the following is not there. The user base is not currently like.
It probably
yes,
is
they have
for like some big hitters like celebrities and shit like that. But yeah, for the average user, you're right. It's probably not. You know,
but that's the other thing is like it's really hard to search on Threads. Like it's if somebody wants to type in my username over there is jperry_ff. If you were to, there's really not a good way to type that in and search for my Threads account. You have to find my Instagram account that I had to make to tie to that account, which is just a second Instagram account that I have that I'll never post on, simply so I didn't have to tie that to my personal Instagram.
Yeah, Carly didn't have a lot of good things to say about it. And like one of the things that frustrated her was that she wanted to join immediately because she wanted to grab her like her own username that she wanted.
Yeah.
But you can't because it just takes whatever your Instagram username is. So you don't really get a selectability in that. So that's not really exactly a positive feature that people are happy about.
And so many Instagram handles are already taken. Like Perry_FF. Never thought that'd be taken. It's gone.
Yeah,
like it's the most like it's my last name, which is not a common last name, underscore, and then the FF is for fantasy football. And that was gone. I could not create an Instagram account with that name because somebody had already claimed it.
Yeah.
So it's I see where they're going with it, and I do think it can be successful eventually, but it's very clearly not at the place it needs to be successful at this moment.
Okay. Cool. Well, we're technically overtime now, so thank you for filling the last couple minutes there for me. But I'm going to start my next beer, and then Jake can go into his topic. My next beer is the Imperial Kettle Sour, called Copa Cablama by Fort Rock Brewing from Rancho Cordova, California. There's the can. I already opened it, so I'm not going to. This is a Imperial Kettle Sour that is 8%. I didn't have dinner, so I'm probably going to get hammered. And this is made with pineapple, mango, and tangerine.
When you see the word Imperial, you know that sucker going to be strong.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one.
But the other thing I wanted to talk about is, Kyle, what are some things that either seem bad until you do them and then you realize it's not bad at all? Or what are some things that you think you need to do more in life? You can go either, you can answer both, you can answer one, and then we'll see if we have time for the other. But these are two things that I was thinking about today because I went to the chiropractor, and my previous experiences going to a chiropractor were not good. They were very like just emotionally cold, like they weren't people. They were just like, all right, what are you here for? All right, we're going to adjust you now. All right, here's the stim machine. All right, go home. And
well, to be fair, I still won't go to a chiropractor, but I'll let you continue.
But I went to the chiropractor. Me and her were chatting about, what was going on with me. For me, it was some lower back pain and some pain in one of my hips and, issues with my neck. She got me adjusted, and we were chatting about like the sports that I play. I might go play on her softball team, her co-ed team, because they need guys that actually are competent, because her exact words were, we're in a really weird spot in this league where all of our women are better than our men. And
is sexist if you are going to say certain things after that sentence.
No, it's just like, that's what she pointed out to me. And I was like, well, if you need a guy who can hit for contact, run really fast, and play defense, I got you. And she's like, I'll keep that in mind. Don't be surprised if you get a call from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like a really good experience. Like I went there, they had a dog there, so I got to hang out with the dog for a bit before I got adjusted. They did the adjustment. They were like, how does that feel? Do you want to get adjusted more? Do you feel like we did too much? You want to do the stim machine? Cool. Set it to what you want it to. The machine will do its magic, and then we'll take you off. We'll get you out of here. And then as I'm going to leave, they're like, hey, just so you know, we think you should come back for a couple more adjustments, or I'm going to do like a one-on-one stretching session with them, or they're basically going to teach me how to stretch better.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Did
And
we ever talk about your haircut?
briefly.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Sorry.
But yeah, so it was just a really welcoming experience. And I think like my previous experience at this thing made me not want to do it again. But now I'm like excited to go again. And I'm going to continue to go to this person. One, they don't take my insurance, but I don't care because it's still really cheap.
Okay.
And I will pay for the experience being so good. Like I'm comfortable not finding somebody who's in network for me, and I'll
Yeah.
spend the $30 every time that I have to go.
Okay.
But it was just super cool to like,
$30. That's really cheap.
yeah, it was
Is that
super.
sketchy?
No, it's like a very well-known place, like really well reviewed. Like the reason I chose this place was because we have friends who have gone there and have had similar experiences to mine that were really, really good. So that's why I chose it. But yeah, it was like a thing that I was scared to do again. And then I went and I was like, oh, this actually can be really cool.
Okay. Yeah, chiropractic work freaks me the fuck out because I would say that I know a lot of people that's happened to, but I really don't. But I've just heard so many people talk about how they, they know somebody or they've experienced just worse pain or like really bad problems after chiropractic work. And then I've heard other people talk about the actual like requisite education they go through to become chiropractors, and it's like sketchy to me to go and have somebody really fuck with the bones and nerves of your body. I don't know. I also don't have that many pains to deal with. I have like some back pain because I'm an idiot and did a lot of lifting at different points in my life without ever really knowing what I was doing, and have caused some sort of injuries. So there's probably benefit there. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. So things that I think are, what were the two exact phrases you used?
So like, what are things that you imagine being bad and then you do
Imagine
them and they're
bad.
actually like really nice?
Or
And
things
then-
I need to do more of.
Or
Okay.
things that you need to do more of to make your life better?
This isn't something that I imagine to be bad, but I think other people imagine it to be scary or bad. And that is scuba diving. And it fits in both of your categories there. Something I need to do more of,
That's
and something
fair.
that people are nervous about. And I think that, so for example, me, I am afraid of fish. I don't touch them. They freak me the fuck out. Fish are horrifying to me. If there's a fish phobia out there, I might have it. I don't like to eat fish. I don't like to touch fish. I don't like to deal with fish. But I love scuba diving.
It is ichthyophobia, is the persistent and irrational
Fucking
fear of fish.
Ichthyophobia. Yeah, I don't like fish at all. But I like to go look at them because fish are beautiful and they're like, the ocean is a magical place. And so if you've never done it and you're afraid of it, for whatever reason, I think you should do that. And I wish that I could and would love to do more of it because I didn't go for about 10 years. And then this year, did we go this year? I don't know.
I think it was last year.
Time escapes me. But we just went not too long ago and I got to go do a couple dives. It was amazing. So I would like to do more of that. Carly says cooking for your wife
At Kyle.
is
That's
something
something
I need
sounds
to do
bad,
more of,
but it's
It
not.
sounds bad,
And-
but it's not. Yeah, it fits both categories again. I am terrible at cooking, to be honest with you. I make
You're a
4
good
meals
cook.
that are halfway good, but I'm not a bad cook when I cook things that I know how to cook, right? So and that category is truly limited to maybe 4 or 5 things.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
You just have to do that more.
Yeah, but then it gets repetitive and boring, and I don't know.
Okay, so one thing for me, this kind of falls into both categories, and this is going to sound so weird to a lot of people, but I hate stretching. Like,
Okay.
but
I don't really
after
like stretching either, to be honest.
it's
with
just
you.
it's going back to our original conversation of boredom. It's arguably the most boring thing in the world to me. I like dynamic stretching. I like when I'm like moving and doing stuff, but like just sitting there and having to be like, all right, this hurts. 1, 2, 3, still hurts 5, still hurts 7, still hurts 8. Like that's just so boring to me. But every time I do it, I feel better afterwards. And my chiropractor today told me that as active creatures, essentially, We should be stretching as often as we are doing something, which is technically physically impossible unless you're not sleeping. But it just goes to show how little human beings stretch when we really should be. Because a lot of the times we're only using certain parts of our body. We're putting strain on a lot of certain parts of our body, and other parts of our body are compensating for that and causing us pain, weakness, numbness, fatigue, whatever it may be. And so you really have to exercise that thing to stop that from happening. And so for me, it's like I sit a lot. So as a result, I get tight hips, I get tight hamstrings, I get tight calves because my hamstrings are tight. And like it just ends up being a compounding issue. Whereas like if I take 30 minutes out of my day when I wake up and 30 minutes before I go to bed just to do some stretching, I'm going to feel a lot better. And so for me, that's something I need to do more of because I'm clearly struggling with that hence why I had to go to a chiropractor. And my one side of my pelvis is higher than the other. My spine's a little compressed in the bottom. You know, all the good stuff that definitely doesn't make your legs go numb from time to time.
Yeah. I would imagine I have probably a lot of those problems and just have been in denial of them forever.
The most random insertion that I need to make here is I found out my neck is too straight technically. I should have more curve in my neck, but my actual vertebrae are straighter than they should be.
That is interesting.
I didn't know that was the thing, but I learned it today.
Huh. I don't have a lot of good ones for this. This is one of those things where I've drank a little bit too much on an empty stomach and you're asking me to think and I'm doing a bad job of it. So, things that you should do more of, or that I should do more of, or that I was afraid of.
I can go again if you need more time to think.
Do one more.
Exercising. And by exercising, I mean...
we've had this conversation quite a bit.
I mean, I'm not going to say strength training, simply moving more. Like, our bodies are meant to move. So we need to, as a population, move more. That's walking. That's standing and doing some work. Maybe I'll do a standing podcast one of these days just to get the blood flowing. But
I like a good standing desk. I really do.
We just bought Jess one and it showed up today and I haven't put it together yet, but I have a strange feeling I'm going to buy one too.
At my last job, I used one almost every day and it was great.
Yeah.
I felt like it did actually help me feel better, except for what I wear to work makes a lot of weight be on my shoulders if I'm standing. And so it actually like fucked my shoulders up a little bit, but everything else felt better. So if you're not wearing what I wear, which is pretty much nobody, then you're probably going to be fine at a standing desk.
Yeah. But it's just, we need to simply move more as a population. And I hate doing cardio. I hate like
cardio.
I like sprinting. That's what I like. I
hate sprinting.
It's don't like
cardio. I don't like
any other form of cardio. I need to actually just start, like we have a hill in our backyard, basically. Yeah. I need to just start sprinting up that hill, walking. Yeah. I need to go back to high school football days, training, just running up dirt hills and shit, and then coming down and then running back up.
I should be specific, by the way. I like cardio in like the gym. I don't like it outside. I'm not an outside person.
I much prefer it outside.
I'm sure you do.
I have a treadmill. I use a treadmill. I've always used treadmills, but I just hate sitting there and just being like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staring at the same screen that I've been staring at for 35 minutes. This is boring. Like it's just a boredom thing for me. So you would think that I would want to just move more in general, but we as a human population just need to move more. It's our biggest problem. Gets the blood flowing, reduces your risk of heart disease.
Sure. Okay, this one's dumb. And I know it's dumb, but it just popped into my head. But some people, I think, have some sort of lack of a desire to experience or like judgment of those that do. And music festivals is my thing that I'm going to say, because, and this is, like I said, I am openly acknowledging that this is a stupid thing to say, but I actually had a guy at work the other day and I was talking about how I went to Stagecoach this year and he was like, oh, I'm not a festival guy. And that's fine if you're not. However, I think you should experience it because it's like, and people are like, well, I just like to go to concerts. I don't really want to be a festival. It's like, I don't think you understand.
Yeah.
Festivals are a nonstop concert and they're amazing. Yeah. So I think
that's 8 concerts going on
that I could do more of.
Yeah.
Most of what I've ever done has been Riot Fest, which Jake got to join me once. And
it was a good time.
We should probably go back. But I've done it since then, and I'm about to do it more later this year.
Yeah, I was gonna
couple
say
times.
we're going to
Back to back. It's
festivals
gonna
and
be
back to back
wild.
weekends.
It's actually going to be a little bit of a nightmare potentially. We might actually die. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
And then the other one that I came up with while I was sitting here trying to think was forcing yourself to be in more social situations as an adult, right? Like, so meeting new people, for example, right? Like, I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. And then it gets harder and harder as you get older and older to make new friends and blah, 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 blah. But the opposite of that is that you end up just isolating yourself in your house, which is something, especially if you move a lot like I do, that can be very difficult. And it's something that I wish that I was better at and did more of, which is just kind of putting myself in those vulnerable situations and uncomfortable situations out of the comfort zone and get to know more people. Because I'm a little bit of I guess I'm a grouch is probably the best way to put it. I'm like an old
Grumpy old man.
And so it is on the very edge of my comfort zone to try to force those situations to happen, and I get really awkward in them. But I will proudly say that I forced myself to be in an awkward situation a few days ago, and turns out it didn't go that well because it was really fucking boring and I didn't really like it. But I got myself out and did something, and I'm happy about it. So getting yourself out of your comfort zone, and really, I mean this more for the folks that are around my age and Jake's age, I guess, too. Because as soon as you leave the college age, time frame, whatever, it is exponentially harder to make friends and be in those social situations that are less easily accessed like they were in school, right? And I think people talk about this, but you don't truly realize it until it happens to you.
Yeah.
Like, you move, your friends move, things happen, people disappear out of your life, and you didn't expect it, and it all happens at once. Because it's generally, very localized to your exit from school. School is the thing that forces sociability.
Yeah, it really
unless
is.
You're homeschooled. And so when that goes away, so do all of those forced social situations.
Yep.
Which makes it difficult for you to find them yourself. So anyway, my point is, get out there a little bit more and try to socialize and meet new people. And people don't suck as bad as I say that they do. There are some really good people out there. You just got to give them a chance. So anyway, that's mine.
100%. I went golfing by myself for the first time in a really long time this week, and I was paired with like 3 high schoolers, and I immediately was like, this is going to fucking blow. And then they were actually like pretty cool kids. Like, they weren't annoying. They were like not good golfers. I was by far the best golfer in our group, but that was
I'm by far the worst golfer you'll ever meet. So if you want to fucking bring me on to the ride. Okay. So first of all, you spelled meat like the food. So I have to give you shit about that.
He fixed it. He fixed it.
Okay. I see it. It just populated. So I was going to have to give you shit. I give you a forgiveness pass there. The interesting thing though, and we could have a full topic and conversation about this, is that I think it's actually easier for folks that do have kids than it is for those without. Because when you get to be around your 30s, you'll find that a majority of people, for better or for worse, do have children. And so if you are a single, or not single, but if you're specifically if you're a single, that's even worse. But if you're a couple that doesn't have other couple friends that don't have kids, it gets even harder to find those social situations, because you'll find that people that do have children focus those social events on places that include children, right? So like children's birthday parties, going to the pool together, going to the beach, whatever it is, like they find other, like, and this is true of anywhere, right? People that have things in common get together and do things together, right? So if you don't have children, that makes you even less likely to find those groups that are, and this is my opinion, I don't know if there's any data out there about this, but I think that is less easy for people without children to integrate into those groups.
Yeah, I agree. And especially like once you have kids and once they start to grow up and they have friends, like I would say a good portion of my parents' friends at this point are the parents of my friends or people that I played baseball with, or like, that's who my parents hang out with now. Like my dad will be like, oh yeah, I'm going out with insert ex baseball coach of mine here.
Yeah.
So, it definitely can help once you're older. But like the point Detman made, when the kids are young and they're in like preschool or daycare or whatever it may be, yeah, it's much harder. But like, especially if your kids play sports, if your kids, are in clubs, have hobbies, anything like that, I do think it becomes easier at that point.
Which and it's part of the same conversation we were just having, right? Like your children are forced into social situations,
Right.
that because of that, you are also brought into a lot of those, right? Like
Exactly.
school plays, music concerts. It doesn't fucking matter like what your kid is interested in. It generally makes parents involved at some point in time, which will make parents interact with parents, and that forces that social interaction, right? Which is what I was talking about, that is absent for those that don't have children. Because if you exit school yourself, and even if you're married or not married, you lose the forced social interaction, other than, generally speaking, individually, unless you work with your wife or your husband or significant other or whatever you want, whatever, right? Like, unless you are both in the same job at the same location, your forced interactions are separate.
Yeah.
You're interacting with people at work because you have to or because you want to, right? Like, but it is happening separately from each other, which is different than when you were in school. And so, and then sometimes those like groups clash together really hard, and it's very difficult to integrate those friend groups, and or it's just awkward because you have nothing in common, right? Like, I don't know. There's a whole lot that goes into making friends as an adult, and
yeah, you're right. It's
I would have a long conversation about this, to be honest.
We could. Last point, it's definitely harder as a married couple too, because you can only really hang out with another married couple if you both like them. Like, there's plenty of people that I'm friends with that I know Jess doesn't like their partners, or Jess only likes their partner and doesn't like my friend, and vice versa for her too. So marriage just adds a whole new wrench into the game, and you better hope you can figure it out. Otherwise, you're going to be like me, and your best friends live across the country from you.
I mean, really though. I mean, it's truly, and we can actually kind of just talk about this for probably 3 more minutes, right, or 5 more minutes or whatever, and close out the podcast with this, because my other topics are kind of lame anyway, and I'll bring them next week. But I think, like what you're saying, right? And so it becomes harder when you bring a partner into it. But the problem is too, as you age out of the forced interactions, other than work, and work being your sole source of forced interaction, it gets even harder for the single people. So really, you break into categories at that point, right? Like, you're not all, which was probably true before, right? Like, you're all high schoolers or all middle schoolers, but now you are single, you are married with children. Like, you are people that have something in common,
right?
And it becomes so much harder to find a situation that works out for the two of you, right? So, like, if you're a single guy or girl, maybe you are trying to go out a lot and find somebody to date, or you're trying to go on dates or go to the clubs or whatever it is. And as a married couple, some of those values or desires or whatever habits go away, and now you're going to whatever, let's use like wineries as an example, or you're going to concerts or shows or whatever, and you're doing those things together with your couple friends. And then within that group, you have friends that go and have children, and friends that don't, probably more that do than don't, and at least in my case. And so you end up, all of these social divides happen,
right?
You lose the common ground, and it gets more and more isolating as an adult. And I think one of the things that sucks the most about it is that people, me included, are like, I'm horrible about this, but you fail to find the common ground with those people, or maybe you're like less tolerant of the limitations of those people. Like, for me, example, like, I am very intolerant or very frustrated by the limitations that children bring on my friends. And because of that, I have a lot less friends that have kids, because for me, like, you can call me literally right this moment, right now, and go, hey, do you want to hang out? And I'd be like, dude, give me 6 minutes and I'm down. But if you call your friends that have children, they're like, dude, we got to plan this like a week and a half out so I can get a babysitter.
Or like us, even like when your friends move across the country, like, I got to coordinate flights, PTO days. I got to make sure that my flights work for y'all to pick me up and take me back to the airport. Like, there's so much more coordination that goes into it. Whereas like the friends that I have here, like, at least we found common ground in golfing. So like, I went golfing with them on a Thursday, and then they were like, hey, you want to go golfing again on Saturday? And I'm like, yeah. And then I just text Jess to say, hey, I'm going golfing on Saturday. But there's been plenty of times where I've agreed to something, and then Jess was like, oh, actually, we have to do this, or we have XYZ.
Yeah.
And it's like, so when you have 2 different schedules that you're trying to combine together with 2 other people's schedules or 6 other people's schedules, whatever it is, you just add almost an infinite number of variables that have to add up to
I was just
like
gonna say when you said that too, the golfing thing, like, and then try to convince your spouse like that's where you should be spending your time too, right? Like nobody's wife that doesn't enjoy golfing probably wants you to go golfing 3 times or 2 times a week, right? Like that's just not, it's not going to work because the priorities are different. And I tried to make this conversation happen when I was very intoxicated to a friend of mine who's considering having children, because basically the conversation went, you hate people that have kids. And I was drunk, so I probably just said yes.
Yep.
But what I meant was, I don't have any problem with people that have kids, but our priorities are so different.
Right.
That once friends have children, it makes it very difficult to make the coordination happen to hang out together.
Yeah. I don't hate you because you have kids. I hate what having kids has done to our friendship.
And really to the priority difference, right? Like if I was more tolerant, which is what I'm saying right now, of those LIMFACs or limiting factors. Sorry, that's an acronym people don't talk about. If I was more tolerant of those problems that they are dealing with, or in like scheduling issues, then I would be a better friend to those people that have children. But I am a bad friend to people that have kids because I don't want to deal with your problems.
Yeah. We're kind of the same way. Like one of Jess's best friends had a kid, and it was like before they had a kid, I think we would see them probably like at least like once a month. At least it felt that frequent. Whereas like we haven't, Jess saw her for the first time since she had a kid, but also I didn't, because I wanted to day drink with my friends, and that's what I did. Yep. So I was like, I'm going to stay at this birthday party that I'm at. You can go, and then you have to come deal with my drunk ass later. Tell her I said hi. Like, and that's what it boils down to, where it's like every time we hang out with them, it's always a really good time, but we can't do the thing. We can't go out to the bar and drink until 2 a.m. and then Uber home, because you have to, one, if you're the person with the kid, you got to find a babysitter, and then you're going to be worried the entire time about like, is my kid okay? Even dogs changes it to a level, but like kids, it's like a whole different fucking ball game. And for me,
dogs definitely does it to people too, for sure. Pets in general, but
it's
dogs
nice
specifically.
It's nice for me because sometimes I have an out and I'm like, I want to get out of here, but I got to go take care of the dogs. So that can be a convenient out for you, but also like, that sucks for them because maybe they were planning on hanging out with you for longer. They like, if you're at a party and like there's 30 people at this person's house, and like you barely got to spend any actual quality time with them because they're having to entertain everybody that's there. And you're like, oh, I got to dip because I got shit going on. Like,
there's also just like this creepy aspect of somebody inviting you to like a kid's birthday.
Yeah.
They're like, hey man, let's all get together and hang out. It's my kid's birthday. And I'm like, I don't think I should be there.
Yeah. That happened to me.
That's weird.
That happened to me last year. One of the guys from my softball team was like, hey, I'm not going to say their child's name, but it's insert child's name here. You should come to their birthday party. And I'm like, dude, if I come to that party, you're going to give me a lot of beer and I'm going to black out in your backyard. That is not going to be a good situation when you have 40 kids around on playpens and shit, because I'm going to get in the bouncy house. I'm going to start fucking shit up. I'm going to break a kid's leg on accident just by accidentally bouncing him too high. Like,
people are going to be like, oh, hey, where's your kid? And I'm going to be like, don't have one, bro. Like, slam a beer. Like, it's going to be weird. So, I mean, the biggest thing, and it comes down to, and I try to describe this, like I said, when I was intoxicated as shit, and really I came out like an asshole. And that is, priorities are different for everybody at whatever stage you are in your adult life, post primary education that is not homeschooling, right? Like your priorities immediately change. Immediately.
Yep.
Some people are very education focused. Some people are very work focused. Some very travel focused, whatever. Like this is an immediate thing, and it happens around 17 and 18 years old, right? So like you're still young, but the priorities change, and it doesn't get any better the older that you get. Your priorities are going to continue to become more and more unique to whatever situation you put yourself in, the farther you get away from that very, very forced social situation that is public or organized education.
Yep.
And it is, I think the whole point of this conversation, to loop it back into your topic and now my semi-topic here, is that I think people need to be more tolerant, me included, very much me included, of the unique situations that other people are in, and then put yourself into more uncomfortable situations, perhaps, to make these social situations better as an adult, which will help you make more friends as an adult, keep more friends as an adult, because people have a tendency to really lose friends in their late
Definitely.
20s. If you can kind of try to merge this and understand that and maybe it goes back to empathy. We can wrap it into Jake's first topic and talk about how if you can empathize with their priorities and their situations from either side, maybe you can figure it out. Like for the people that have kids, maybe you can be like, hey man, my homie that's single, he's still trying to get out there and get fucked up and go to the bars. So let's find a night where we can find that babysitter that's going to let us go out on. And same thing in vice versa. Like, you got to figure it out. We as adults need to do a better job.
Yep. And if you're somebody like both Kyle and I, who are CBCs, we're childless by choice.
Yep.
Like, you have to recognize that other people will want to have kids. Your friends may want to have children.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, they can have kids and you can still have a friendship with them. You just have to recognize that you may have to get a little more creative to maintain that friendship.
Yeah. Yes.
Boom.
We did it. That's a whole podcast right there.
That's a
Ladies
whole pod.
and gentlemen, he, she, they, we did it.
All right, Kyle, rate your beer before I rate my second beverage.
This was good. I don't know if I would think that it was as good if I didn't have this second, because both these were pretty intense. And like I said, I'm on an empty stomach. So gauge this with some sort of degree of scrutiny, but I'm going to give this one a 3.75. This one's pretty dang good.
That's a high rating for Kyle.
Yeah. And we're on a 5 scale, so it's really not that great, but I'm pretty critical of beverages. So 3.75 is where I'll end on this one. Pretty dang good.
I'm going to rate my first beverage, my electrolytes. They're electrolytes. They're salty, but they have flavor to them too. They're 2.5. My second beverage, which I never introduced, I switched to Ecovision brand creatine, which is the cheapest creatine on the market, by the way. I'm no longer an affiliate. Yes, because it's all coming from the same source. It's the exact same ingredient. It's just they make it cheaper than every other person does because they're very transparent with their prices. I'm no longer an affiliate with Ecovision. Ecovision ended their affiliate program and now only has their sponsored athletes, but I will still heavily recommend their products. They make by far the best creatine flavorings that I've ever had. I'm giving this a 3.8. I know that's not how our scale works, but I can't rate this on Untapped anyway. So it's a 3.8. All right, fine. 4.0. It's fine. It's the orange dreamsicle flavor is so good. Creatine often doesn't dissolve well. It gets really gritty. This doesn't do any of that. Theirs is, and I'm not saying this because I used to work with them, but this is the best creatine that I've ever had. It's the only creatine that I didn't have to like throw 8 other things in the cup with it to make it taste palatable or throw it in like a smoothie or my protein powder or something. This is a good drink on its own. So
right on.
If you work out, take your creatine.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This has been another episode of the Two Average Husbands podcast. You can find Jake on all of the social medias at Perry_FF, except for Threads and his fake Instagram, which are at
Perry underscore, or it's like J Perry. I don't even know it. I'll look it up. I'll plug
whatever
it myself.
His nonsense is, he can put that in our Linktree if he really wants to. And speaking of Linktree, if you want to follow the podcast anywhere other than YouTube, you can find us on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, blah, 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 blah. We're all over the place. But to be honest with you, and I've learned a lot about this in my recent days in school, we should probably cut down on our social media, because if you're not active on it, then it just discourages people from following you. So really, follow us on YouTube. That's the best place. This is where we are. This is where we stream primarily, right? So hit the like button and the notification to join us live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific. And we are here to do this podcast every week other than some random times because we both have real jobs too. And then you can comment on Twitch and YouTube, but not on Twitter. You can watch though live on Twitter. If you do want to join us in the conversation, not on YouTube, you can do that in the Discord as well, which you can find in the Linktree. And if you just want to listen, we're on basically every streaming platform that's out there for podcasts. But to be honest with you, the best way to do this is just watching with us live. The video is the best. We do a lot of video or image-based content, so probably the best place to do it. Other than that, I think I've covered everything. I don't know what I do and don't cover. Jake always cleans it up, though, so I'll hand it over to you, Jake.
Kyle covered most of it. YouTube and Discord are the best ways to stay in touch with the boys. If you want to hang out with us, if you want to play games with us, just let us know. We'll get some game nights or something rolling. Maybe we'll do that as a fun
Our last
offshoot
game
live
stream
stream.
didn't go that well, in my opinion.
No,
so
but
we'll have to go from there.
We probably won't. We'll probably just stream to YouTube or Twitch because I know how to do it through OBS to get it to one of those platforms to actually get sound and everything. But
Yeah.
I think it was just a limitation of the software that we use to stream. But this has been another episode of Two Average Husbands. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you all in the next episode. And as always, don't forget to tell somebody that you love them.